Well, hello and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks News Pack for the Thursday, October the 20th. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network, as it will be Dan and I doing a pregame podcast involving here as the Buffalo Sabres are taking on the Calgary Flames tonight. So we'll be getting that there. Here we'll get into the Flames. Lots of news today around the Flames, around the Canucks as well. And so we'll get into that as we continue here. And so join us for that pregame podcast, or if you're listening after, check out that podcast as we'll get into some of the things. We'll touch on the Flames news here tonight. They did extend Dan Vladar. That was the news of the day. News of the day out of Calgary. They have uh, extended Dan Vladar. Of course, he made, and we'll get into this. He made his start with the AC Edmonton Oilers on Hockey Night in Canada. He's had a really good. He had a really strong preseason as well, and I think Dan Vladar, I think, has made an impression, and he got his extension. It's a 2-year extension, and uh, so that is where we're at. And just getting them as we get here. Um, we have that it's a 2-year, 2.2 AAV. And yeah, Daryl Sutter has said that Vladar is going to be started once a week. It is Jacob Markstrom starting tonight, though, against the Sabres. So I would suspect we're going to see Dan Vladar play his first home game as a Calgary Flame against the Carolina Hurricanes if we're going by schedule. So we'll dig into this a little bit more, but I think this is a really, first of all, there's a tidy piece of business. I think for Vladar, the way that he has played in this preseason, the way that he's kind of growing into this position, I think this is a well-earned contract for Vladar. Um, and uh, so I think he's earned it. I think that this is good for him as he continues to grow in his position. And we've seen goalies go up and down, but so to watch this consistent growth. You still have Dustin Wolf, so you have a solid goaltending plan. And we'll get into this with Dan. There's a solid goaltending plan here in Calgary with Jacob Markstrom, Dan Vladar as your two, Dustin Wolf number three, and it's one of those that you have a number of options with this contract that you can do a number of different things. So I know that Sean and I had a little bit of a debate about what this means for Dustin Wolf, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So that's what a tease. But Vladar has been extended. Jacob Markstrom starting tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. Um, and I would not take this team lightly. They're coming off that 4-2 win against the Edmonton Oilers. And you know what? There is some talent on this Buffalo Sabre team. You've got Owen Power, who I think is one of the favorites for Rookie of the Year, and I think he's going to be a star. You've got Rasmus Dahlin, who was the first pick in the draft, in the same draft that Quinn Hughes was drafted. He is starting to come into his own as well as a defenseman. So um, some things take time, but he's starting to get a little bit of an edge. He's starting to understand who he is. So that is a very interesting thing. You had Tage Thompson take the big step last year, had a breakout year. JJ Patricia, one other guy that I think is becoming a star. Um, there's a lot there. To Alex Tuck is a good player as well. There's a lot there. This is not a big win on the bingo card. The Buffalo Sabres are a legitimately coming together team. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but they're legitimately coming together. So lines for the Sabres will look expected to look like this: Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner, Alex Tuck, Dylan Cousins, Vinny Hinostroza, JJ Peterka, sorry, I think I've mispronounced his name, Peterka there, Casey Middlestat, Rasmus Asplund, Victor Olofsson, Zygmunt Girgensons, Peyton Krebs, who was also part of that Jack Eichel deal with Kyle Tuck and Kyle Okposo. You got Matthias Samuelsson, who signed that contract, played 30 games, signed that big contract, and Rasmus Dahlin, Henry York, Yokiharu, and Owen Power, Jacob Bryson, Casey Fitzgerald on defense. It's expected to be Eric Comrie to start in goal, as he played very well against the Oilers. Riley Sheehan and Jack Quinn are the scratches, and the injuries look like Ilya Labushkin. Not expecting any change from the Flames lineup, but Lindholm, Huberdeau, Toffoli, Kadri, Dubé, Mangiapane, and Backlund, Coleman, Lewis, Rooney, Lucic, and Ritchie. Defense, Hanifin, Anderson, Uyghur, and Tanev, and Zadorov and Stone. And as expected, Markstrom, that's mentioned Markstrom, starting in goal. So that's where the Calgary Flames are at. As for the Vancouver Canucks, they have the Minnesota Wild here coming in tonight. And just by the way, with the Sabres, just to touch on one other thing here before we just touch on the Vancouver Canucks. With the Sabres, they come in the Atlantic with a 2-1 record so far this year. So they've won 2 of their first 3 games. They beat Ottawa on opening night at home, and then they beat the Edmonton Oilers as well. So looking to continue to build, and then Buffalo will see Saturday at Vancouver's home opener. But the Calgary Flames are in action tonight. They will take on, or the Vancouver Canucks are in action tonight. They finish off that 5-game road trip against the also winless Minnesota Wild. So this is going to be a very interesting game. 2 teams that are struggling in different areas. Of course, the Vancouver Canucks struggling to hold leads. The Minnesota Wild are struggling to simply keep the puck out of the net. That is quite literally what's happening. One of the issues there that the Wild are dealing with. But so here is, for the Canucks, looks like Connor Garland gets back into the lineup. It looks like Nils Hoglander will be out of the lineup. He will be the healthy scratch. And Bruce Boudreau was asked why this happened and what this is going on about this. And this is what Hoglander told Harman Dial. We got 13 forwards, and you go down to them and you go, okay, who are playing here? And it's a bigger physical team, and sometimes you make decisions on that. I told Hoagie he's playing really good. I really like the way he's playing and be ready to get back in the lineup and hurry. But sometimes, I'm not saying with analytics on this part, sometimes you look at your opposition and you see what you need. I'm not sitting Garland out. I think the point was made, and so we have to sit somebody out. So, yeah. So looking at the lines for the Canucks here tonight, Ilya Mikheyev is expected to will play his second game as a Vancouver Canuck. And so the lines are expected to look like Miller, Garland, Mikheyev, Pettersson, Podkolzin, Kuzmenko, Horvat, Pearson, Besser, Amon, Joshua, and Lazar, Hughes and Shen, Ekman, Larson, Myers, Stillman, Burrows are the defense pairing. Thatcher Demko getting in goal, with Jack Rathbone and Hoglander being the scratches. And you still have Tucker Poolman, who apparently is a game time decision, I'm hearing, and Travis Dermott, so out with the concussion. So may see Poolman tonight. But that looks like a game time decision. As for the Wild, you've got Hartman, Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Erickson at Greenway, Foligno, Rossi, Gaudreau, and Boldy, Sam Steele, Brandon Duhaime, and Tyson Jones. On defense, you got Jacob Middleton, Jarrett Spurgeon, Jonas Brodin, Matt Dumba, Alex Goligoski, Kellen Addison, Marc-Andre Fleury, who, by the way, this is a matchup of the 2 worst in terms of expected goal. Fleury is worse than Demko. And then Philip Gustafson, the backup. And you've got Andre Schuster and Connor Dewar as your scratches, and John Merrill is out with an upper body injury. So that's what's going on with the Canucks and the Wild. And the Canucks coming home without a win on this road trip, I don't think is a good thing. So I think this is a needed win. I'm not going to say must win, but it is a needed win for the Canucks. Now, let's go through some of the rest of the lineup here. Up in Edmonton, some people may think that this is this early Stanley Cup preview, but the Carolina Hurricanes, who are another unbeaten team, will take on the Edmonton Oilers, who are 1-2. And they have Oilers haven't been able to get off to good starts. That has been a struggle for them in all 3 of their games. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And the Hurricanes have yet to lose. So see what's going on there. Jack Campbell is back in goal. Dylan Holloway is injured. He's got an upper body injury. And this is Ethan Bear, not scratch tonight, as is Calvin DeHaan. Frederick Anderson getting the call in goal. Other games tonight, as we've got a total of 12 overall in the National Hockey League, so we'll run through some of these here. As we go through here, you've got let's save that one. We'll go here. Just go up here. One second here. We're going to start in the Sharks 0-5 to start the year against the Rangers 3-1. And James Reimer is starting for San Jose. Igor Shesterkin starting for the Rangers. The Arizona Coyotes, who are coming off that 4-2 win over the Maple Leafs. We'll get to them in a moment. Against the Montreal Canadiens, they're 2-2. Looks like Velmelka starting for the Coyotes and Jake Allen for the Canadiens. Washington Capitals, 2-2, taking on the Ottawa Senators, 1-2. The Senators coming off that 7-5 crazy game against the Boston Bruins on Tuesday, getting their first win, home opener. Daniel Alfredson there. Big win for Ottawa to get them going here, as I think there's a lot of excitement around this Ottawa Senators team, as is the Buffalo Sabres, as it is with the Detroit Red Wings too. So Capitals really injured. You got Connor Brown injured, Nicholas Backstrom, Tom Wilson, and Carl Hagelin injured here. And you got Evgeny Kuznetsov, who's sitting out that 1-game suspension. Anton Forsberg starting in goal for the Senators tonight. LA Kings 3-2 taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Kings coming in with a 3 in a row. Cal Peterson getting the start in goal for the Kings. Tristan Jarry getting the start in goal for the Penguins. Dallas Stars, who, I'm going to say this, right now they are the best team in the Central Division. They are playing the best team. They are playing the best. I've watching the Winnipeg Jet Colorado Avalanche game last night. I feel like the Avalanche are looking a little sleepy and feeling a little bit like they have some Stanley Cup hangover that they're working through. Dallas has come prepared. Pete DeBoer, they've seemed to respond to him. Jake Ottinger has been outstanding. Team looking good right now. They come in 3-0 against a interesting situation in Toronto. So 2-2, and unfortunately, Devin won't. I don't know if we're going to have Devin on tonight, but we'll have to have a conversation around what's happening in Toronto. So Sheldon Keefe, after the Arizona Coyotes game on Tuesday, said that he did not feel that his Stars were did not play very well, and then he basically had to walk those back. And he said today that yesterday he used some wrong words and the criticism of his star players, Matthews and Marner. And it was the second time already this year that Keefe has been alarmingly talking about, or not alarmingly, but he's basically challenged his players. And it didn't come away. This is the wording. I used some of the wrong words to describe what I was trying to describe, which is that the difference in the game was just we weren't able to produce, whether it's power play or 5-on-5. And that's really the difference with all the puck time we had, but by no means was I mean anything beyond that. Look, the Stars haven't been good enough in Toronto. I don't think that there's any question about it. But today, he said he relayed this to his to the leadership group, and Austin Matthews said he thinks what's said in the media and obviously what's said behind the doors is private and maybe different how it's interpreted in the media. It's an interesting situation. I just looking at this situation here, it doesn't feel to me, and I could be wrong, but it feels to me that this is a coach that doesn't have the charge. And Daryl's like, let's look at this. Daryl Sutter said the same thing. Stars weren't good enough tonight. I feel like that there would be some weight behind that. I mean, Daryl Sutter literally said during Game 4 of the playoffs against the Oilers, between 4 and 5, that he didn't think his wingers were good enough. You didn't hear a response from the players for that. It's just interesting, and I think, as Elliot Friedman to say, there's always going to be fire in Toronto. That's just the market that it is. I feel like Sheldon Keefe handling this adds to the fire. So it's just an interesting situation in Toronto with so much pressure, not only because it's Toronto, but because of all the lack of success in the last few years. It's right now the two biggest pressure cookers in hockey right now in terms of market is Toronto and Vancouver. I don't feel that Montreal has that same pressure behind them because there's no expectations, but there's expectations in Vancouver, there's expectations in Toronto, different sort of expectations, but still expectations. So that's just, to me, interesting there. So yeah, that's what's going on there. So Toronto does not have an easy matchup against Dallas tonight. Here, looks like Ilya Samsonov will get the starting goal. The Ducks off to a slow start. 1-3 are in Boston, who's off to a surprisingly good start. 3-1. Gibson starting a goal in Anaheim. Like Linus Allmark starting in Boston. The Predators 2-1 taking on the Blue Jackets 1-3. They got their first win Tuesday against Vancouver. You got Kevin Lincoln at starting goal for Nashville today, and you've got Elvis Merzlikins starting with Columbus. The New Jersey Devils, who are facing the New York Islanders, and probably one of the pressure points of early candidate for a possible coaching change is in New Jersey with Lindy Ruff. You got Mackenzie Blackwood starting in goal. They need better goaltending. Quite simple. The Islanders, they will go with Ilya Sorokin. And we talked about Hurricanes Oilers. I think that's probably one of the matchups of the night. And yeah, the Winnipeg Jets taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Still no Rick Bowness Jets coming off a really impressive overtime win, 4-3 overtime win against the Colorado Avalanche. Yes, the Avalanche fought back, but Neil Pionk got 2 goals. They started Adam Lowry and Mason Hamilton in overtime. So the Knights are still a pretty good team, but you got David Riddick, who will make his debut for the Jets tonight. And it will be Aiden Hill making his debut for the Vegas Golden Knights. And, of course, as we go through these games here, the other couple of other things, we got the reverse retros started here. So I think we'll dig in. I think everyone has seen them. My favorites include the Montreal. I really like the Montreal Canadiens one. I love the Expo tribute. I really like the San Jose Sharks tribute to the Golden Seals. Really like them a lot as well. And like, there's a lot I like. There's more that I like that I don't. So in terms of that, and so just looking at just pulling this up here for one moment here, just looking at the reverse retros. Really like the Krakens as well. Like the Colorado Avalanche look. Kings kept the same look. Minnesota Wild kept that same look. Really like that as well. Like the Calgary Flames look. Toronto Maple Leafs with the traditional look. Anaheim did a much better job than they did last time. Chicago looks okay. Detroit looks better than last time as well. Ones I don't like Florida's. Just don't like the logo. Just don't think it looks good. I honestly don't like the Vancouver Canucks. I like the jersey color. I just feel like the logo looks messy. I just looks kind of cartoony to me, and I know it's a traditional logo, but I don't like it. Don't like Arizona's, and maybe that will pop up a little bit more on the ice, but I don't like that one. Growing on the polar bear, but those are the three I don't. The two worst I think are Florida and Arizona. That's where I'm at. But I think generally everyone else has done a pretty good job with their uniforms, and they should look good on the ice there. I think overall a much better look at reverse retro than it was during the 2021 season when they brought these out. I think it just looks a lot better. So that's what else is going on. some other stuff here. Jacob Vrana, he's missed some time with the Detroit Red Wings. He's entering the player assistance program here with from the Detroit Red Wings. He'll be on a. It's of course, and he'll be unavailable. Verona, of course, under the program, gets paid while receiving treatment. He will return to the club when cleared for on-ice competition. So all the best to Jacob Verona. Now, more on this escrow situation. Frank Saravelli talked about something on the Daily Faceoff today. I did think this was interesting, and he did tweet this out as well. So I'll just read the tweet. Checked in around the league, and the consensus is a lot needs to go right. Of course, the discussion around the salary cap to increase to 2003. I'm told the debt from players to owners is in the neighborhood of 450 million and requires HRR, which is revenue of 5.5 and 5.7 billion to be paid off this season. A lot of general managers, according to Saravelli, a lot of the planning is not in terms of salary cap to go up by 4 million. It's expected to only go up by 1. That's the plan. And of course, you have to have a plan A, plan B, plan C with all of these sort of things. So that's where we are at with the salary cap. And finally, we'll go into WHL, looking at their games tonight. Here, by the way, the Vancouver Giants have announced the November 25th game featuring Connor Bedard and the Regina Pats is sold out. So that's good. One game tonight, Regina Pats in action. That's Connor Bedard and the Regina Pats heading off to Moose Jaw to take on the Moose Jaw Warriors. And looking at the records here, the Pats are 6-4, 6-4, 0-1, and the Warriors come in with a 5-4 record. So that will be the news for today. Of course, you can follow us all individually on Twitter. Sean Beardy, Canucks03. Tyler, TNOBLE, Christian Schneidz, SCHNAIDZ, Devin Gordhow09. Follow the Fireside Chat. They had their podcast out tomorrow, Fireside Podcast on Twitter. Dan will join me. We'll do the pregame podcast at around 6 o'clock Mountain, 6:30 Mountain. We're between 6 and 6:30 Mountain, 5:30 Pacific. We thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.